Welcome to the Yes You May podcast with me, Amanda May Gray. I have started reading a new book that is short and sweet and fabulous. Quite honestly, fabulous. And I wanted to share a little bit about it with you guys because, I'm about to embark on a new adventure and I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone to do so. And I'm so excited about it. And I think reading this book, along with some other influences, like listening to Renee Terrell last week and having a conversation with her. If you haven't seen last week's episode, that was episode number 12. This is number 13. That was so good, y'all. You guys got to hear it. But another friend of mine, actually, Sarah McGill, who is the host of the Raising Fearless Girls podcast. Shout out to Sarah. If you're raising a girl today, in the future, check out her podcast. It is phenomenal. It is so helpful. But she introduced me to this book, The Four Agreements, a Tolkien wisdom book by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's called A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom. I definitely highly recommend picking this up. I got it on Amazon for like $5. She said she actually got it at Five Below for like $5. So you could find it. It's not very expensive, but she was right. She's like, get the physical version so you can highlight and take notes. And that's exactly what I'm doing, you guys. But the first agreement of the four is be impeccable with your word. And what I think I found the most interesting about this agreement and this concept was how you need to be impeccable with your word to yourself. So not just to others, but also to yourself. Because it's really easy to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then not follow through, right? It's so easy to get unmotivated, to get derailed, to have something happen, and to not follow through on something. And the idea that you need to be impeccable with your word to yourself and just starting there, it makes a world of difference. So I wanted to read a couple of quotes from the book about this specifically. When you are impeccable with your word, you feel good, you feel happy, and at peace. And another part just below that, it is up to you to make this agreement with yourself. I am impeccable with my word. Nurture this seed, and as it grows in your mind, it will generate more seeds of love to replace the seeds of fear. Let me read that part again. Nurture this seed, and as it grows in your mind, it will generate more seeds of love to replace seeds of fear. All those negative beliefs, all those perceptions, all these things that we talk about all the time on here about giving yourself permission, about not waiting for somebody else to tell you can do something, about believing in yourself and understand that you are good enough just the way that you are, and that things from your past shape your today, but you can work on them, acknowledge them, and move beyond them and not let them dictate your entire life. And the more that you're impeccable with your own word to yourself, the more you follow through when you say you're going to do something to yourself, the more you will believe in yourself and the more that you will actually become the person that you want to become and feel like you can do anything. After reading this first portion of it, I've started to notice and be cognizant of my self-talk when I'm doing something or when I think I'm going to do something, just like this podcast. I'm like, I'm going to put out a podcast once a week, every week at minimum. And today was super busy. I'm much later in the day doing this than I had intended to. But I remember this agreement and I was like, I have to do it. I have to take the time, get over my own, like, well, it's too late, or it'd be too easy to just hop in bed right now, or whatever, and follow through to keep that commitment to myself, if nothing else. Because in doing so, I feel better about myself, and I know I can do it, right? I know I can take the time. I know I can follow through with my own actions, because that can be really hard. It could be really hard to, follow through when life gets in the way, when you got to do the dishes and you got to run to the store for an ingredient that you missed for dinner, and the dog needs to go out, and the laundry needs to get done, and you need to pack to go to Vegas tomorrow morning. It's really easy to let life get in the way and not follow through on your own commitments to yourself. And so you have to be impeccable with your word to yourself. And I want to read another portion of this because it's so telling. Being impeccable with your word is not using the word against yourself. Not using the word against yourself. You're the only one that lives in your own world. You don't live in the same world I live in. We both have different experiences, see things different ways, have different hopes and dreams. So you can't use your word to tear yourself down. To convince yourself, no, you're right, I can't do this. You have to choose, again, when you're doing this, you have to decide for yourself that, no, I am going to follow through on what I say I'm going to do. And now the key that I've found anyways is to start small, right? Don't say I'm going to work out every single day of the week, because life will happen, and until you gain that momentum, it's very difficult for going to not working out every day of the week, right? Like, you have to set yourself realistic ideas, but you have to follow through on them. Which brings me to another point, another story. I know I need to step outside of my comfort zone. I think we all do, right? You need to step outside of your comfort zone. And yet, it's so cozy here in your comfort zone. Right? It's so comfortable. And it's so stinking hard to step outside of it. And why is that? Tomorrow, I get on a plane to Vegas. I'm going to the National Speakers Association's annual convention called Influence, and I am super, super excited about it. I'm so excited to learn, to network, to meet people, to be immersed in the industry in which I am dabbling in, dare I say. But man, I had to get a lot of reinforcement and courage to say yes to that. To say yes to myself, to investing in myself, to stepping outside of my comfort zone and actually doing it. Sure, if it was here in Atlanta, it would be very easy to go to and say yes to. But it's so much more of an expense when you have to fly and be put up in a hotel and yada, yada, yada. And I know people that are going, right? So it shouldn't be that scary. And yet I was terrified to make the decision. I put it off till the last minute, which cost me money. So that was kind of stupid, but what are you going to do? It all worked out though. I managed to use some miles to get a ticket out there for like $11, right? And but I was just so scared to jump in. And when I finally talked it over with more than one person, got different viewpoints, and confirmed what I wanted to do and said yes, I mean, I about cried. I was all choked up because it was just such a big leap. It was such a big step outside of my comfort zone of this little studio, right? Like this little itty bitty space. Talking to myself on the camera. And when I thought about it, and I thought about this first agreement of being impeccable with your word, I realized I had to do it because I've made a commitment to myself to not give up on this dream, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much I want to stop at times or get in my own way or feel like it's hard or it's not going anywhere. I've made that commitment. And so when I realized that I have to be impeccable with my own word to my own self, the choice was easier because I knew deep down this was the right thing for me at this time to do, to expand, to take a step into a new world and a new life for myself. And that's scary. But I told myself I was going to do it and I wasn't going to give up. And so I just had to go. I share all of this because I think it's easy to look at somebody doing something that is very public, like talking to a camera live on a podcast, and think they don't have fears, they don't have this and that, they've got things figured out, look at where you're at. But everybody has fears. The first time I went live was terrifying and terrible. The first time I put up a YouTube video was not great at all. Right? But I've grown and kept going, and you can do the same. But the key, the number one biggest thing is going to be to be impeccable with your word, and especially doing so to yourself. And pick up this book. I get no commissions on this or anything, but I really think you should check it out. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, if this type of stuff resonates with you, then you need to read and take the time to consider how you can be more impeccable with your word. And the 3 other agreements, but we won't get into those because this has already gone on long enough. And I haven't finished the book. So, there's that. Invest in yourself. Trust yourself. Share your dreams with those who can support you. And also protect them from those who just aren't there to understand yet. Say yes to yourself, because you can do anything, even if that means you got to step outside your comfort zone. How can you be more impeccable with your own word to yourself and to others tomorrow? What are you going to do? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your ideas on this. Please utilize the chat feature if you're watching this live or on the replay. If you're listening to this podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you might be listening. That really helps me know you like it, keep doing it, and frankly, it lets other people know that they might get some value out of it as well. I appreciate you for being here. You are loved. You are blessed. You are good enough. You have my permission to chase your dreams. Have a wonderful day.